Hello and welcome to the Reykjavik Grapevine Newscast. I'm Poppy Askham and today we are at Thufa, which is an art installation on Grandi. It is Iceland's biggest single art installation. It was designed by Olaf Nordal in 2013 and it is 8 meters high and made up of 4,500 tons of gravel. And on the top we have a structure with animal carcasses which are drying in the wind, which is a traditional Icelandic practice. It would normally be fish, but I'm not sure it's fish at the moment. Anyway, we thought this would be a fitting place to do today's newscast because it's a little bit eerie with the animal carcasses on top, and the news we have today is a little somber. Okay, so the reason we're doing a newscast very shortly after our last one is that there has actually been a cluster of cases, coronavirus cases, over the weekend. So it's a little concerning. There have been 6 new cases confirmed on Sunday, and in total, in the last 4 days since the 23rd, there have been 11 cases. So the 6 cases which are domestic infections. This is separate to border screening cases. The 6 domestic infections come in relation to an individual who came to Iceland from the Baltic countries. We don't know exactly which one. Came back to Iceland and went through the border screening and came through as negative, then fell ill a couple of days later. 6 people were put into quarantine, and then all 6 of those people later tested positive. So why this is particularly interesting is that the individual is an Icelander. He doesn't actually live in Iceland permanently, but as an Icelandic citizen with a kennitala, he should have gone into this period of, it's very hard to translate into English, but sort of homecoming contagion caution, I think is the phrase, which basically means after 5 days after the initial test at the border, they do a second test just to rule out that possibility of false negatives, and then in that 5-day window, whilst they're waiting for the second results, they should also keep within 2 meter, keep the 2 meter distance, stay away from elderly people, high-risk individuals, and avoid big gatherings. So this was a new set of rules that was brought in on July 13th, 2 days before the individual travelled on July 15th, and applies to all Icelandic citizens and Icelandic residents. So everyone who's planning to travel, please look up those rules, because what happened in this instance is the individual didn't realise that he was meant to follow these rules because he does not live in Iceland. And what he ended up doing is filling out the English language form, which is largely meant for tourists, so it doesn't oblige you to put in your kennitala, which meant the Icelandic authorities didn't pick up that he was an Icelandic citizen and didn't tell him that he needed to go for this second lot of testing, and he didn't realise himself. So then a false negative came through and we got the resulting infections. So it is a big administrative error, very concerning. The deputy epidemiologist, because Thorolfur Gunnarsson is currently on holiday because it's Icelandic summer, everyone goes on holiday at some point. So she has said that they're going to be looking into ways of making sure all Icelanders with ID numbers are picked up, and then also making sure people are more aware of what they actually need to do. But it is a concerning situation. So those 6 people that have been tested, they're now contact tracing who they could have come in contact with, even though they were in quarantine at the time of testing positive. But aside from that, there are 21 people in isolation, and there are around 11 separate in separate sort of clusters, so unrelated cases. That's border screening and domestic cases altogether. The infection rate or the incidence rate at the border screening is 2.5 per 100,000 over the last 14 days, and the domestic infection incidence rate is 3.3 per 100,000. So yeah, that is a spike in cases. We saw last week there was also, as we talked about, some cases involving an athletics tournament. But yeah, we are seeing the highest numbers we have in a number of weeks. It is a bit concerning, and yes, I implore you, look up all the rules for travelling, because it is a little complicated and situations like this can occur. The second bit of news is about the US ambassador to Iceland, a man called Jeffrey Ross Gunter, and he has, lots of Americans are calling for him to be removed as the ambassador following a sort of spat on Twitter where he referred to the coronavirus as the invisible China virus, which of course no medical experts will use. It's widely seen as racist and is just a phrase used by Trump a lot and with very, very negative connotations. It also came out in a CBS report that he's been saying he does not feel safe travelling in Iceland, wanted to carry a gun, wanted door-to-door armoured vehicles. He has advertised for a bodyguard in Icelandic newspapers. So yeah, lots of people deeply unhappy with the state of affairs, because obviously Iceland is an incredibly safe country. We do not have the gun culture of the United States. There have also been concerns expressed about how well he's carrying out his ambassadorial duties. Apparently between February and May he was in California and did not want to come back to Iceland and had to be asked by Mike Pompeo to come back. American citizens have been complaining about not being able to get appointments with him. So we will see if he is the first ambassador to be deposed. We will see. And then finally, we've got more earthquakes. Yes, more earthquakes, because welcome to Iceland. So in Miðdalsjökull, there was an earthquake this morning, 3.4, which is the strongest since 2018. So it's a glacier area. It's also recently had increased levels of sulfur and increased water in the river coming off the glacier, because the temperature's been rising underneath. What are you doing? The temperature's been rising, causing more glacier water to melt. So yeah, it's an interesting area at the minute. Experts have stressed that this is kind of normal for summer, but tourists should be careful in the area. There's also the earthquake swarm in Grinderweek, which is continuing. We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. It's been the most earthquakes in this area for 30 years. There was one 5.0 magnitude on Monday, and it's likely to carry on for several months, if not years, according to experts. So yeah, lots more earthquakes to come. And that is it for the news at the minute. Thanks for watching the newscast. As always, help us out by going to the High Five Club, going to our online shop, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. And yes, we're going to enjoy the views. Thanks for watching. Olaf Nordal. Yeah? Olaf Nordal, 2013, 8 meters, 4,500 tons of gravel. Okay.
Good.